So sometimes people uh, wonder why we hold the guidelines of the Abbey the way we do, and about, you know, going out, going here and there, having personal property, all these kinds of things. And so I just thought I had received some notes from two people in the community that have kind of shown the value of this happening. So I thought I would read them so that people could understand why we do things the way we do. Okay? So one person he said, today after class, we're talking about having to negotiate their translator fees with the organization that they were translating for, which made me feel really sad. It's so weird to have to figure out how to price your monastic education and translation skills. It's hard for me to wrap my head around what a setup like this does to your monastic mind, motivation, and community relationships. Yeah, when you have to set a price on the work that you're doing, when you see that priorities are given to other virtuous activities aside from the virtuous activity that you're doing. And yeah, that can be quite confusing and quite frustrating, and you don't have much of a voice in it. So she's continued, I feel incredibly privileged to have the opportunity to translate the Vinaya for a community that lives and practices it with a clean, clear motivation to support the spread of the Dharma in the West. I'm really grateful that, so I'm really grateful for this. So to me, it was showing like what the difference is between when you do Dharma work and you have to earn a living, um, either because you're a lay person and you have to support a family, or you're a monastic, but you have to support yourself because you're not the member of a community who supports you. And so then you're in that kind of position of having to put prices on what you do, and kind of like you're getting paid wages. Well, you are getting paid wages for the work you do, and how that influences the mind with which you work compared to when you just do your translation or whatever virtuous action you do it just as a gift to the world, knowing that the world returns it and you are supported by your community. So it gives a whole different mental state regarding your motivation, regarding your attitude towards money, regarding what you're willing to do, because you're really able to focus on the benefit of the action that you're doing without considering, well, I'm putting in so many hours. Am I getting compensated for according to the hours I'm putting in? Or I've got to charge so much because I have to eat and I have to pay my rent and I have, this kind of thing. Yeah, so it allows this internal freedom, I think, to really practice when you have an economy of generosity like this. Yeah. Could you imagine what it would be like here if we all, at the end of the month, submitted a thing of the hours we worked and the wages we thought we deserved for, working at various tasks, and the various tasks had different wage limits? I mean, that would just make a whole mess of this community, wouldn't it? It wouldn't be the community it is today. So she said, in informal conversations with some of the Chinese nuns, I am getting a clearer picture of the lives of Chinese nuns who don't live in a monastic community. Okay, and when you live in that kind of situation, you have to discipline yourself, which isn't easy because there's no structure. And so if you just do what you want to do, there's nobody around to say, hey, maybe that's not such a good idea. Okay. So she said, there are so many temples in Taiwan that it's easy to leave a community when you have problems with it and go temple hopping for the ideal situation. For example, a room with an attached bathroom, which is what one of the nuns was looking for. Yeah. So there's so many temples. You don't like the accommodations here. Well, we just go temple hopping till we find some place that gives us what we like. Apparently, some temples have their monastic residents sign contracts with them. Yeah. Would these be contracts to stay a certain period of time? They're tired of people just coming and then, okay, after a month, I'm tired of it here, let's go somewhere else. And how disruptive that is for the community when people are coming and going like that. And so having them sign a contract to pledge to stay somewhere for a certain period of time. I think this was in the situation kind of where you were living, so that people came together for the courses, and then when it was break time, in your courses, then everybody went their own direction. You don't have to ask because nobody wants to ask. So you just pick up and you go where you want. And then when the courses start up again, when you feel like coming back, then you come back. So it makes for a whole different atmosphere in a community when things are like this. And then Rebecca wrote at one point, she said, I strongly felt the inner protection of my faith and conviction, as well as the outer protection I have afforded myself by choosing to come stay here and approach monastic life. A few times while with the group of young adults, I would see off in the distance the graceful swoosh of robes as one of the bhikshunis was walking somewhere. It felt so comforting, period. Comforting to know there is this model for an ethical life that can accomplish the goal I truly seek. Yeah? And so when you live in a community where the people are all going in the same direction and seeking the same spiritual goal and same life goal that you're seeking, then there's a certain feeling of comfort, and may you even say in samsara security, in the sense that you have the support to do what in your heart you want to do, instead of being in a circumstance where the other people in your life are all saying to you, why are you doing this? This is so stupid. You're neglecting your duties, in the family, at work, come back and be normal. And it's so normally neurotic. So, it's so difficult it is to practice in that kind of situation. You really have to cultivate a lot of inner strength. And it does wear away, wear your determination away. It can, especially when you're new. And so this is why the Buddha had us stay in monastic communities.
Just imagine my own mind if I was calculating the hours I worked every month and what I thought I should get paid, and how that would just be my meditation time. And it would just be a mess on all levels.
Yeah. Instead of counting mantra, you would be calculating, let's see, so-and-so's getting so much an hour. I think I should get equal wages with them, and I work overtime. I work at night, so I should get more.
I've come to really appreciate that by living in community. I mean, the Dharma and training our minds and transforming them is a full-time job. The fact that we don't have to concern ourselves with the requisites and how much we get paid and what it's worth, the focus is so much stronger. And I really have become to appreciate very much that I don't have certain levels of anxiety and worry and fear that I see a lot of the monastics that do live on their own, struggling to try to find balance, try to keep their precepts, try to practice sincerely.
Yeah.
When the levels of just living a life where they've got to take care of all of that is more time than they sometimes have, and then it goes to that rather than to practice.
Yeah.
Rather than to really deeply changing their minds.
I just noticed when I was in Mexico, because I knew that whatever donations were made were coming back to the Abbey, there was a real sense of joy and freedom in my mind to share the Dharma, no matter how many people were there, no matter when it was. It was just a joy.
Yeah.
It contributed to that.
Right, because you don't have to think of, am I getting enough to do. It's just whatever you get, and then all the dana comes to the community.
I've been thinking about my practice and how before I thought it was just like my practice, you know, my meditation, but like the Dharma is actually, you only know it through other human beings. And so I'm seeing like the community kind of like as my practice. Like, I know it sounds cliche, but yeah, just seeing other human beings is like the only way I can practice Dharma. So, you know, really trying to focus on relationships and not just, you know, changing my mind as something separate from everything else. So that's something I definitely realized since I came here.
Okay, good.